Okay, I'm so sleepy.
Okay, you wake up and then do the intro.
Welcome to another episode of No Results, Only Excuses, where we talk fitness nonsense and partial facts. My name is Matthew Bauman, and as always, my co-hosts.
Justin. Courtney Dick. And Justin. Courtney's trying to turn this into a competition. He's trying to race me to the punchline.
Yes, I got in there first.
I'd like to throw it out and watch you guys fight over it.
It's fine. I'll beat you at the outro. I'll make sure I get my word in first.
Okay, you tell people our email address afterwards because you know that so well.
Yes. I can recite every letter, even the @ symbol.
Yes, I'm doing my research here for our upcoming book. Are we leaking our upcoming book, Matt? Or are we
Yes.
keeping it a secret?
You can leak it, but I don't know if it's ever going to happen.
It's gonna
happen. How many wads do we have to go, Courtney? It can't be more than 5.
Well, we're supposed to have 30, but Justin's given 2.
Wasn't it 20?
Okay, 20. That's fine. Justin's given 2.
That's just too much. Too much.
Jeez, 30. Why do we have to charge 100 Rand for this?
Matt's given one wad, and I've given 3.
I gave like 5. I'm find them in the WhatsApp group.
You find them, you send them again.
I'll find them.
Courtney, I think you need to be audited because I recall giving at least 5.
No. I wrote down the ones you gave.
Courtney,
So
he's cheating. Yeah, I think he's taking him for himself. I mean, fine.
The only professional CrossFit coach around here is the one lagging behind with these words.
Here's one I sent on. I don't know what the date was.
Like that. So while Matt's looking there, the people want to know what the secret book is. So we are releasing a graphic novel featuring photos, suggestive photos of exercising.
Us in firemen's outfits.
It's like a calendar.
Yes, it is a calendar.
Just for 1 month.
It's a July calendar. So we're releasing a book of 20/30. It's a partial fact. We don't know how many workouts. A selected number of kettlebell workouts because we thought that the people want to know what to do at home with their one kettlebell that they bought on Gumtree. So we're going to put together some cool workouts, mostly written by me and Matt. Because we can't keep asking Justin to send us.
There's only so many times you can ask a man.
Only so many times. Yeah, listen, guys, I'm so busy these days. The lockdown has got me locked down, and I do promise in front of our entire audience to give you a few more exercises and workouts. Good. I'll give you parts of exercises, parts of workouts, and you can put it all together.
Justin's such a cock tease. Fuck, man.
So Justin's going to give us partial workouts for our book, and then I'm busy designing this beautiful book, and it's going to come out soon to the internet near you. And then you can take it and you can exercise. And are we selling this book? Are we giving it away for free?
We're going to definitely give it away for free because right now what's most important to us is what, Matthew?
Well, not money, I guess.
Not money. No, not money.
Email addresses.
Email addresses. We want people to listen to our show. That is what's most important. It's quite depressing putting this all together and just finding out that your mother, my mother, and Courtney's mother are the only people listening to it.
And Roger Burgess.
Yes, and his mother.
Roger. Yes, and his mom.
And Roger's mother.
She loves the show.
Our book is coming soon, and then you sign up with your email address and you get our wonderful workouts written by all of us experts in all things exercising.
If you don't want to give your email address, then it's 5 Rand.
Yeah. I mean, the least you can do is give us an email address. If you're going to be completely stubborn and obnoxious, then 10 Rand donation would be great.
10 Rand.
Okay, 10 Rand. Because £5, can you even snap scan £5? You have to EFT us.
Just find the minimum amount that you can snap scan or EFT.
Yeah.
If you're a Standard Bank customer, they incentivize you with UCount points to make one snap scan transaction per month. So if you're going to make that snap scan transaction, we'd highly encourage you guys to do it in the direction of No Rex podcast.
Yes. Well, you can send us money at Checkers. Like you send money to people all over the world at Checkers. You can also do that to us.
Yes.
Send us your £5. Yeah.
There we go.
So, what are we going to talk about today? It's been a very boring couple of weeks at CrossFit. Nothing's
happening in CrossFit. So,
yeah. So, what are we going to talk about?
Let's just end it there.
Lol. Everyone out there is like, whatever.
Yeah.
Roger and his mom was like, whatever.
Whatever.
So we thought that coronavirus was going to kill CrossFit, but then Greg Glassman was like, wait, watch this. I'll kill CrossFit.
Mic drop. Boom.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Yes. But even before Greg Glassman, what happened, Matt? It was our other two friends, our favorite CrossFitters. They started this whole thing before Greg.
Oh, the Travis Williams and the Jess Griffith. I guess so. We didn't actually discuss how we're going to talk about this. I was wondering, we're going to do a timeline of events.
Yeah, let's do a timeline.
And
I think there's a lot of people.
Explain what happened.
Yeah. So
yes.
Matt, you can tell us about Chandler and Jessica and all those people.
So is that the first? Is that the first thing? No.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the first thing. Yeah, that was the first thing.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we all contribute to make this as factually correct as possible, because it's just one of those topics where more partial facts is potentially life-threatening.
to Chandler and Jessica and Travis.
And No Rex podcast.
No Rex podcast. Yeah. So apparently, I didn't even know, but Chandler Smith and Jess Griffiths and Travis Williams, the person that nobody really likes in the world, they're all in Misfits together, which is like a team, eh? Or what? It's a gym.
It's a gym, isn't it? And it's also a team, I think.
Yeah. Misfits is quite a well-known sort of like competitive brand, but I also think that their program is well-known in the CrossFit community outside of Africa, more so. But yeah, if you go and search on YouTube, you'll find quite a lot of content. Instagram, they're one of the more reputable brands out there.
Yeah. So they were all in like a WhatsApp group together, or something like that. And then they made some sort of racist remarks, and Chandler Smith was in there. You know, Chandler, the army guy.
Yes, the one that did so well at the Rogue Invitational this weekend.
Well, Jessica said the N-word because she was commenting that one of the other girls did so well. She used it in a how do you say it? Like a
congratulatory.
Yeah,
like a praise. She used that line from what's that movie? Is it
from Training Day? I think.
Is it Denzel Washington?
Denzel says it in Training Day, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should check that out.
Check that out. That's partial fact.
And then, so she said that, and then what happened? Then who's the other guy? So
Travis.
So everyone kind of kept quiet about it, and then they're all like clap hands or whatever. We're all buddies, and then Chandler brought it up, and he says, this is he's kind of brought this up before, I think, and it's gone back and forth, and he's kind of putting his foot down now.
Yeah, I think he was a bit offended.
I think he said, I appreciate it if you don't do that. And then Jessica basically said, if that's we're just giving us false information here. I need to open the actual.
Yeah. Well, she basically said that like she's like a country bumpkin kind of girl, and he shouldn't be offended by that. And she said like if you're offended by that, you've got bigger problems, basically.
Yes.
And then I think that's kind of when Chandler he had enough.
Well, then Travis also replied after that in defense of Jessica, saying like,
"Oh yes,
like come on, you, don't be a pussy, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
Chandler kind of gave them a little whooping, and then he left the group. And
He
then
left the group.
I think the head coach made a nice long statement in there. It was pretty good. And then after that, it somehow got leaked, these messages.
Yeah. But like in between there was...
As with everything private these days, it goes straight to Instagram and the social media for the rest of the world to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were some like screenshots and videos and stuff. But like the interesting thing for me in the middle of there was like Chandler was saying to them that these guys are like, you guys are basically toxic. And he said something about Madrid, like something happened in Madrid or something.
Yes,
they were going to be a team.
Something had happened in the past.
Yeah, so he basically just called them out on like being really like toxic people and really like not cool people, which was quite interesting to me because everyone's always thought that Travis was just like a bit of an asshole kind of guy.
Sure. I think, it's cool that we're giving the listeners some perspective on what happened, but wouldn't you agree that this sounds like a daily occurrence in many people's lives, and that phrase or expression could have been used in a group of people verbally or on WhatsApp or even in, like an Instagram caption. And it seems like as soon as somebody tries to stand up for what appears to be, or should I say challenges the norm or even pop culture, that people almost get shocked and offended. And it seems to me like that's what happened with Travis and Jessica Griffiths, is that they were almost caught off guard for being criticized for saying something which is deemed okay and all right. And what I mean by deemed okay and all right is that, correct me if I'm wrong, but in many, many songs and even movies, like you guys pointed out, that expression is almost completely overutilized, and as a result, people have become desensitized to, the historical weight that expression or name holds. And as soon as somebody tries to indicate that, hey, you should probably reconsider what you're saying, it's almost brushed off and seen as dramatic. So
I think that was Travis's defense. Something similar.
Definitely.
I'll just sit on the fence here.
Listen, I don't think we need to pass judgment or an opinion. I just think that the big issue that we need to address as society is basically, how do we feel as human beings around taking any reference to culture, race, or religious affiliation and using it as a source of humor or to poke fun, or like what is all right and what is not all right. Because as soon as somebody you idolize out in the world, be it a rock star or a hip hop artist or even your favorite movie star, says it, it almost becomes the benchmark. Wouldn't you agree? It's like, oh, well, Denzel Washington said it, therefore it must be okay, because nobody said that he made a mistake or that he's not allowed to say it. Therefore, I will use that expression with my friends and we will all get on very well and have a good time. So it's interesting, I think, where you draw the line, at least.
And it's like, I don't really understand it, because obviously none of the three of us are American. So we don't have this history of the word being used in our country. Like, obviously we have like similar words, not similar sounding words, but we have like equivalent words, I guess, in our history. And people don't say those words like they say it in America. In America, it's like you say, it's like part of pop culture. Like they use the word in everything, movies and songs. In South Africa, and I don't know about the rest of the world, but we don't use those bad words and just like chatting to each other. You know? So
I mean, Courtney, if I said to you, hey brother, how you doing? Like with that same tone, inclination, and meaning, you could just swap those words out with the phrase we're referencing, and it's almost, or at least I think for a lot of people, seen as the same thing. Like, what's up?
Yeah.
Instead of my brother, you can use your imagination, and it's supposed to have the same effect.
Yeah.
if
I don't know.
not even more endearing, depending on who you are.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're going to have to get some Americans on the show to ask them. But obviously, the big problem was that Chandler said to them, look, this is insensitive, and it's, I don't know if he said it's racist, but we didn't see the whole chat, but he said he's offended by it. And like, instead of them saying like shit, I'm sorry, like I did the wrong thing, they almost tried to just defend it, which is what made everything worse.
Yeah. Listen, it's you. Whenever you stand up in a crowd of people or a group of friends, and you say something that challenges the norm or their notion of thinking, there's going to be backlash, and people are going to, challenge your view for being different. I think because at the time, before the Greg Glassman thing sprang up, he was tackling a massive global issue. A lot of people are naturally going to like raise an eyebrow to it and be like, "Are you serious? Like, are you complaining about that word to me? Because like, what is this conversation or argument going to do about it?" And I think that is obviously where the Black Lives Matter movement stemmed from. Is too many people are just sick and tired of the notion of thinking that their effort is not enough.
Yeah.
Yet collectively, if enough people chip in, a difference can be made.
Yeah. I get you. So I think the point that comes out of it is that people need to try a bit harder to understand each other, to see where people's history are, where people's prejudices are. Sometimes, like, we all have prejudices and we don't even know that we have them sometimes. It's just kind of ingrained in your way of thinking, or the things you've been brought up to believe. So it's challenging those. And when somebody says to you, like, look, this is wrong, to actually stop and think, and instead of trying to justify it, saying like, okay, I get you, like, let's try and talk about this so that I can understand better. And Travis and Jessica didn't do that, and that just shows that they were really insensitive at best, Yeah. But anyway, That's where it all started. That's where the crazy week of CrossFit started. And I think they got suspended, ain't that? Or fired.
They got fired from Misfit. I don't know if they've been kicked out of the gym or anything like that, but they've been kicked from the comp crew, I guess.
Wow, I didn't know that it went that far.
Travis said, "I'm too white privileged to see." He said his response was, "I'm too white privileged to see why that's offensive. You mad, bro?" With little eyes. And then Jessica said, "Jan, man, if you get mad at a white country bumpkin girl saying N-word, we got bigger fish to fry. Sorry you offended, but it was by no means hateful. Big difference there." That was her response. And then afterwards, Chandler responded, and then turned into that. So
and then
after that, but now then something else happened in related but non-related.
Yeah, because then Travis and Jessica were really happy because Greg Glassman decided to take the spotlight off them by being even more crazy. He was like, "You show me crazy, I'll show you crazy." Yeah. So on Twitter, there was like I don't know what it was, like a university research kind of labs Twitter account. And they were basically talking about, was it mental health issues, I think. They were like, it's mental health issues. And apparently these guys have also, they also did like modeling of lockdown rules and regulations and predictions and that sort of thing. So these guys, they were called the Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation, whatever that means.
Racism and discrimination are critical public health issues that demand an urgent response. And then then Greg replied to that.
So they said racism is a public health issue. So they're basically saying that racism causes health issues, I guess mental health issues or physical health issues. I don't know. I
remember the statement. It said something along the lines of racism is a public health issue.
Yeah.
And
that's
and,
exactly what it says in the picture.
And Greg responded and said, #Floyd19.
Yeah, I think he said it's Floyd19.
It's Floyd19. But he also did write something before that, or after that.
After that, a few days later, the next day or something.
It was, next day. He further elaborated.
So I didn't even understand what it's Floyd19 really meant. Obviously, we have COVID-19, which is the disease, and then Floyd is the surname of George Floyd, who's the man who was murdered by the police in America. So was he trying to say that the murder of George Floyd is like a pandemic?
No, so when I read that initially, I read that as Greg Glassman, Mr. Anti-Establishment, tongue-in-cheek. Well, if you're going to claim that racism is a public health issue, then let's just jump on the bandwagon of all the pandemics right now and call it Floyd-19,
okay.
But the tone that I am suggesting he might have meant it in definitely doesn't come across with it's Floyd-19, full stop. Especially if you don't know who Greg Glassman is. And I'll be honest, I don't really know who he is. I just have this idea of who he is. I met him once at a seminar, and if you follow his life's work, he's almost like an anti-hero, if that makes sense, in that he designed CrossFit to challenge sort of the standard methodology of training around the world. He created CrossFit Health to challenge the notion of, big pharma trying to treat chronic disease with medication. He's challenging big soda and trying to create awareness around how soda companies fund sporting events to try and get people, and obviously in other areas too, to kind of foresee their products as healthy, even though they're laden with sugar and most likely the first thing to kill you when it comes to inflammation of the body. So when I call him an anti-hero, I'm saying he's this person that challenges statements. He challenges norms. He challenges maybe even, standard policy when it comes to nutrition and health, And while that's okay, I think if you don't know who he is, you're going to read that statement and be like, you arrogant man, And I think he was probably sitting on the toilet making this tweet, just starting his day, having a coffee, maybe even a bit tired and irritable from the fact that his business has lost so much money. And then bam, in the direction of the Institute for Health and Metrics, he just made that statement, which was a huge cannonball in the side of CrossFit HQ.
Yeah.
Well, he had 24 hours to go think about it.
Yes. I think he thinks he's a genius. That's the problem. He thinks that everything he says is so incredibly wonderful and clever. I can say all these amazing things in 2 words. It's Floyd-19. And everyone will be like, whoa, that's amazing, Greg. Wow, how did you think of that? I think that's honestly what he thinks in his head when he writes things like that. And he just doesn't realize that it's ridiculous.
So what happened? So he said this now, and then what happened?
Well, then the next day he made some other tweets, and he tried to kind of explain what he was trying to say.
There's a reason he explained the next day, though, because within 24 hours, it got shared everywhere, and it blew up. And people started calling him racist. And I think, I don't know who the first one, but people started, gyms and affiliates started, commenting about it. And the next day, I think to try to calm it down, he wrote his other statement. Your failed model quarantined us, and now you're going to model solution to racism, ? George Floyd's brutal murder sparked riots nationally. Quarantine alone is accompanied in every age. He's quoting, quarantine alone is accompanied in every age and under all political regimes by an undercurrent of suspicious distrust and riots. Thanks. And he quoted that from an article you found. Only half of it.
Yeah, it was stupid. Like he quoted only the second half, and he didn't quote the first half. And the first half of that sentence, which he decided to cut off, actually said that quarantine works in curbing the disease, a pandemic. So like he decided to cut that off, and it's stupid. And he was basically trying to say that quarantine led to riots in his reply, which is, even in my opinion, more stupid than his original tweet. Because why are you trying to say that quarantine led to riots? The murder of George Floyd led to the riots, not the quarantine. So, like, what are you actually trying to say here, Greg?
Yeah. Yes. So again, everything we say on this podcast tonight is postulating about what is really going on behind the scenes. But I am trying to like understand this from the perspective of the fact that CrossFit has lost a lot of money due to COVID. And if we're talking 15,000 affiliates around the world, all sending an email to CrossFit HQ, and Greg's opening these emails, and it says, we are, as a result of the lockdown and the quarantine, we can't pay our affiliation fees. Please, can you do something to help us? And month one goes and CrossFit says, yeah, sure, we're going to waive your fee for this, or we're going to only expect you to pay 50%. Second month goes, third month goes. You guys will agree, here in South Africa, we're still in lockdown, and we're going in, I think we've been going for 3 months now. We're in the third month. Yeah. And being on the affiliate side, I know that we've had to ask for concessions and say like, hey, listen, we're not making any income. You know, can you please help us out here on the affiliation front? And when you guys reference Greg modifying his tweets, you know, maybe to serve a certain viewpoint, I think the way I interpreted this behavior was, there's an angry businessman and he's upset with the world and is upset with government for imposing the quarantine because it's gone and it's affected his business. And here comes this company on Twitter with the metric, and they're trying to like create a model about racism, and he's taking this frustration, this anger out, and he's saying like, your failed models resulted in this quarantine, you know, like. And then you see his tweet, Floyd 19. There's a lot of bitterness and anger and sort of like charged aggression in the direction of a tweet like that. And you have to ask yourself, where does that stem from? You know, maybe the models were false. Maybe they were skewed. Maybe they were under-researched. Maybe the quarantine was not necessary in some places, or the intensity of the quarantines were not necessary. Like, you will never know until you look back in retrospect a few years from now, and then you ask yourself the question, did we make the right decisions? But I still don't think it justifies what he said at a very, very sensitive time. But I would like to hear your guys' thoughts on,
well, Mr. Smarty Pants wouldn't have written anything.
Like understanding.
He would have said nothing if there was no uproar about it. He would have left it at Floyd 19.
What is your opinion on what I said with regards to Greg being angry and frustrated, and perhaps not checking his PR very well?
Greg is an arsehole.
I think the last thing he said is correct. He doesn't have anyone looking after his tweets or his responses to people. It's not going through a filter.
Yeah, clearly. He made a mistake by firing all the media staff, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody gets angry. Everybody has bad days. Like, you get irritated sometimes, but like when bad things happen and then you do bad things, that just reveals your character. Yeah. It just shows that you're an arsehole. Like, your dog poos on the ground in your kitchen, you don't kick it because you're not an arsehole. Unless you are an arsehole, then you kick it. So lots of people's businesses are in trouble. Like, people are all struggling for money. It's just, but they don't go and tweet racist and insensitive things on people's accounts because they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I think Matthew gave some suggestion that it extended further. So it started there, and then all of a sudden an email came out where even more of this aggression and frustration seemed to be redirected towards a girl named Alyssa. Is that right?
I think the email was even before
we've actually missed that whole piece. At the same time, because it goes from the Travis thing, which is separate-ish, that email that happened, and then Greg's tweet, and then at the same time of all this, CrossFit is not responding to any of the Black Lives Matter questions. They didn't write anything about it. So that's what sparked this whole, and Greg's obviously tied to CrossFit, and everything just merged together to cause this.
But then there was also the Rocket CrossFit thing that Justin's talking about with that lady Alyssa.
I said that. So
did you?
That was after Travis. That was probably way back actually, but the time it came out was before his tweet. Yeah.
And he just wrote a terrible reply to her.
Yeah, you're gonna have to fill everyone in now because now we fucked it up as usual.
Yeah, as usual. Well, somewhere around there was another a Rocket CrossFit, which is like a 10-year plus affiliate, I think. And they were talking about why they want to de-affiliate from Greg because of, I think some of it was because of him not taking, or CrossFit not taking a stand against some of these big issues in the community. So I think in the past, Rocket CrossFit, according to this email, I've never heard of these guys before, they'd been like very big in equality issues, LGBT issues around the world, and they felt that CrossFit wasn't taking a stand, and they wanted to de-affiliate. And I think they sent Greg and everybody else at CrossFit a very nice email, very, very long email. You have to have like 20 minutes to read it. But like nothing rude. They just basically explained, and they like even said like nice things about Greg in the email, and he just replied in like a really horrible way. I don't know if you got his reply there. I think like he said he was like ashamed.
Yes, I think that was the line that he ended his email off on, and he went on this whole rant and ended up just saying, you know what, I'm ashamed of you. And the whole way he just handled that PR with one of his affiliates, with a long-standing affiliate as far as I know, was just very, very disappointing and strange, which is why I bring up the context of he seems to be very angry and very charged and very out of control, so to speak.
I think he's just a brash man.
He is.
Yeah.
Do you remember the other time when he told someone else, let's end your affiliation? Who was that? That was not too long ago.
Someone else just made a comment and stuff, so he just said like, I think let's end your affiliation. Something like
let's end your affiliation. You're like, fuck, Greg, just relax. Just stop being an idiot just for once. And just think about things before you say them.
That's what caused this next kind of wave. So at the same time, CrossFit, which is Greg is obviously the CEO of, have failed to respond to Black Lives Matter. Or didn't, I don't know. I don't think they wanted to make any statements.
They didn't say anything at all.
Until people were pushing them, and then they made some sort of quick typed up thing. Sorry.
Yeah, like a really weak one, like a really weak statement, and people also thought that was ridiculous.
So people,
and also at the same time, there was another thing when, like with the COVID-19, there was also another thing. They didn't say much about that, except they made some video about basically if you're overweight, you're going to die from coronavirus, and you should get off the carbs and get off the couch, like they always say. And
so everyone was
pretty insensitive.
I think that tweet is what tipped it over.
Yes.
And that's when the affiliates and athletes started commenting. Some big threats to de-affiliate and also just cut their ties with CrossFit.
But wait, there's another thing we forgot about.
Oh fuck, is there more?
There's another thing. There's another one we forgot about. There's there's the video Zoom call that he had with some affiliates.
Oh shit! So that was the next day.
That was the next one, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I don't know when the Zoom call was, before or after the tweet, or when it was. It might have been before the tweet even.
It was before, and that guy released that call where he says they're not mourning George Floyd. And
yes, he said I'm not mourning George Floyd. None of my staff are mourning for George Floyd. We don't see a reason to mourn for George Floyd. And firstly, okay, that's weird. That's a weird thing to say. And why are you saying that to people on a Zoom
like
call?
An affiliate call?
Yes.
He's supposed to be like, morning guys, feeling good, feeling great, affiliates looking good. We're going to give you all 10% discount. Don't worry about it. Cheers. He starts off with look, we're not mourning the guy.
It's just
You know what's interesting? He definitely seems to think differently. And as Courtney said earlier, I don't know, what did you call him, Courtney? You said he's trying to be a hero, or he thinks he's a scientist.
He thinks he's a genius.
Some elevated being, perhaps.
Yes,
I think 99% of the world said, hey, what you said was uncouth and inappropriate. Whereas he's starting off by talking to some of his biggest, longest standing affiliates by saying, listen here, guys, don't be stupid. We're not going to mourn this guy. Don't just get on my bandwagon, whatever bandwagon you're on. Your opinion's wrong. And if anything, sounding a little bit like a dictator, you know. When you talk to 15,000 people, not that I think all 15,000 affiliate owners were there, but when you speak on behalf of them, I think the most important thing is their opinion and their voice first. And you take that into consideration, and then you offer your opinion. And if anything, your opinion doesn't matter because it's the opinion of CrossFit, not the opinion of Greg Glassman. You know, and I think that's where he started crossing streams there, in that, you know, he forgets that he's actually his own person aside from that of CrossFit. That's important to remember.
It reminds me of so much what I would think when I'm younger, or even now. Like, when I was young, I'd be like, if I owned a company, this is what I would do, you know. So now he's the CEO, and he's like refused any filters or people to write his emails for him, and he's like, I own the company and I can say what I want. But it just doesn't work like that, unfortunately, when you get to that point. Like you've got to like really close your mouth.
Before the time of social media, I mean, if you think about it, like if you owned a company, at any given time, you could affect the people in the meeting, and maybe the people that they tell about your stupid comment and behavior in the meeting. And then it wouldn't go further than that. So let's say 20 people there, they go home, they cry to their spouse because their boss was such a jerk, and that's where it dies. But now in today's day and age, you can't even make a tweet longer than 10 letters, and boom.
Yeah.
You lose 10% of your business in a day.
Let's see what CrossFit.
Yeah.
Can you find out like the worth and stuff of CrossFit?
No, man. So got a ton of money.
He says that, and CrossFit unfortunately been known to be very brash and not responding very well to anyone, and they don't respond to the affiliates. So everyone de-affiliated. Well, how many? 1,000?
It was about 10%, 500, close to 1,500.
They de-affiliated, and a lot of the athletes said they are stopping. They're not going to support CrossFit, and they're not going to support the CrossFit Games.
And some of the biggest, longest-standing affiliates de-affiliated, like Jason Kalipa and all of his gyms. And then Froning gave like a statement that I wasn't really sure whether he was de-affiliating or not.
And then the CrossFit
it was
staff,
confusing.
Which is the trainers of the L1 and 2 and 3 and whatever, Flow Mastership.
Yeah. So Nicole Carroll
started resigning.
Yeah, Nicole Carroll resigned, the head of CrossFit training. She resigned, which is obviously a big one, which is one that we were wondering if that was going to happen or not.
Yes.
And she did. So that was huge. And then I think Greg started to panic. He was like, oh, shit, it's going down now. We got to stop this ship from sinking. And they released a long statement, which was okay. It wasn't the worst statements I've ever read in my life. Like,
this time not from his Twitter account.
Yes.
This time he's like, shit, someone please write something for me. I did it again. Somebody
did it again. I couldn't control my fingers or my mind.
That's why it was a good statement, because he didn't write the damn thing himself. And then people it slowed down. People were like, okay, we're fine. And then he resigned. He said, I'm not going to be the CEO anymore and make Dave Castro the CEO, but I'm going to remain the 100% exclusive owner of everything.
Sure.
So, yeah. So, well, that means nothing.
And then that's kind of where it stopped for a few days until Andy Stump made a short 20-minute podcast.
Yes, the plot thickens.
But about how the the culture of CrossFit HQ is what is the word?
Toxic.
Is it toxic? But what's the word for like sexual to women?
What do you call it?
Degrading?
I don't know.
Degrading to women,
degrading.
or very sexual.
Yeah, he's like a. Is it a pervert? Is he a pervert?
It's a perverted. And yeah, they're all very like sexual and talk about women and all that. And he kind of exposed it, and I think he was hoping there was going to be a bit of a wave after that, and
nothing happened.
Nothing happened. There was no one came out. I think one person did something.
So hang on, I didn't watch the whole statement. I just saw the snippet of it on Instagram, I think it was.
That was a strange snippet to put out.
Was he suggesting that Greg is a pervert or he behaves like one?
I don't know what the difference is.
So what I'm saying is, like, he has perverted tendencies, as in, like, he looks at women or perhaps talks about them in a degrading manner versus doing it or maybe performing perverted acts.
Like touching his hands.
Maybe that's a different category altogether.
Yeah.
So okay, so he one of the examples was that he
we need some listener help on this one.
He would get the females. He would get like only the females to ride in the car, with him. Or
like they'd go on trips and like he'd arrange the transport like so that only it'd just be him and some other lady on the plane alone.
Okay.
Or he'd like book one hotel room for the destination that they're going to, like stuff like that. Weird.
So what do you call that? A sexual opportunist?
And then he would say,
some might call that a sexual predator.
Yes, exactly.
He said something about one of the ladies' boyfriends were on what do you call it when you're out in the army? Deployed. Yes. He was deployed, and then Greg's response was like, well, let's hope we name a hero ward after him. Basically, hero wards is when they die.
So Greg was like trying to tell this lady, like, I hope your husband or boyfriend, I can't remember,
come back.
Hope he doesn't come back because I really like you for myself.
So there's a lot of like stuff like that, and Andy didn't reveal it all. He said that I'm going to leave it to other people. I'm going to leave it to other people to. There's a lot of people that actually know this information. And he feels bad for not coming out about it sooner, but he's going to leave it to other people. It's up to them to come out about this stuff. But the whole culture of HQ is built on men and a perverted culture.
Yeah,
it's trickled down through the whole place.
That interesting thing he said is like it sounds like when you leave HQ, they kind of pay you to sign a non-disclosure agreement, which you have a choice about, I think, but they offer you like a lot of money. So it might be that all these ladies that don't work there anymore, they've all signed non-disclosure agreements, so we never hear about it. Otherwise, they'll get sued. So we might never hear about this. But
and he's never coming back online.
Yes, maybe like that's the reason why big names resigned. I don't know. Maybe Nicole Carroll knows something that she can't say because she signed an NDA. I don't know. Yeah.
That's the thing. It's interesting. So I'll say what I said to both of you. I think it was almost like a long time coming. His tweet was it was tasteless, but I don't think he's a racist. He just wrote a horrible tweet. We say a lot of shitty things that if I had 1 million followers and they saw me say something, I'd probably get in trouble. Everyone says stupid things, but him and his company have irritated people for years, from small things to big things, and this was finally the thing to push it over the edge. CrossFit's always been so like heartless and stupid responses to people. Just like small things. If people complain about like the open and the judging, then they'll like respond some passive aggressive crap with no real solution. Then they do the whole gun thing, giving guns free, to the winners, and everyone's like, what the fuck? And CrossFit just ignores everyone. It says nothing, like things like that. And then obviously there's lots of underlying stuff with affiliates and no responses and no communication. So everyone was like, fuck you. And now
Yeah,
CrossFit's
you know, Matt,
sad.
you make some good points. I think there's a couple of people that feel indifferent. They feel divided. Some people feel very strongly. But if anything, the lie of the land is not flat. You know, people are uneasy, and you know, it seems like the key word here is solution, or solution based at least. And you know, the whole CrossFit community has either said, hey, we don't support you, we're out, we're going to do this alone, or we're going to stick around with the hope that you come up with some solutions, i.e. find a new CEO, i.e. address, you know, racism within your business and your sport. Maybe even extending that as far as cultural inclusion and, you know, uplifting sort of like impoverished communities or people infected by impoverished communities and getting them involved in a sport which, you know, largely can be argued as being inaccessible based on how expensive certain memberships can be around the world. I think that's what the world's looking for. They're just looking for, you know, an apology and a way forward. And I truly hope that they stick with and go for.
So I think they're definitely working on it now. They haven't addressed the fact that Greg's still 100% owner, so he gets every penny or still. And then Dave Castro has been made this new CEO, which is just kind of the next best thing they've thought of. But everyone's kind of agreeing that they need like a kind of board of directors or you know, a whole bunch of people making decisions, not just Greg sitting there. And everyone, like someone like Katrin, I think she's completely out until Greg resigns. I think a lot of them are completely out until. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Bergeron said the same thing. He said, "Look, this guy owns 100%. Even if he owns 20%, I don't care. I'm not coming back until he's out." Because, like, whether he's racist or not, like at the very least, he's just a not nice person.
I think he's left a bitter taste.
Yeah, like Matt says, it's been coming for years. He's been a real doist for a long time, and people have just had enough now. I think maybe it was like we're all stuck in our houses. It's just been a really irritating year for a lot of people. And like, this was like the final straw. Like this, let's just get rid of this guy. And they did half a good job. He's still hanging around in the background there. There's no way that he's going to disappear and let go of all of his like CrossFit health initiatives that he believes in and all that sort of stuff. He's not just going to go and live on a farm somewhere now. He's still running the show. So
CrossFit responded with a pretty good blog, saying like, look, we're sorry that we haven't communicated and we've been dickheads and we don't respond to anything. We need to learn. We need to get better. And then they responded with today they posted about the CrossFit Games and how they're gonna they're like 3 steps on how they're gonna make it more diverse.
Okay, I need to check that out. I want on that note. You know, when I was busy trying to form an opinion on all of this going down, I kept bringing this point up and I said, is it easy to pigeonhole a guy like Greg as a racist when one of the biggest moves on behalf of CrossFit was to extend an invite to every single national champion around the world just less than a year ago or about a year ago? When was that? Was it 2019 or 2018 the first time we saw that? I think it was 2019.
2019. Yeah.
No, it must. Yes, it was 2019 because Matt, it wasn't like that when you were at the games.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say. Okay, so basically the point is this: CrossFit HQ says, "Hey, we're going to go from a system that has largely many Americans and many Europeans being represented at the CrossFit Games, and we're going to now invite a national champion from every single country in the world." Like, you can't deny that is a great move in terms of expanding the sport internationally and also make it more inclusive and appealing to places in the world that might not have originally gained exposure to the sport.
I would also like, don't you think that was just one of Greg's fucking crazy ideas?
His marketing schemes.
Well,
I don't even think he thought about it because he shut down and fired half his media team at the same time. and then said, we're gonna get rid of regionals because it costs too much, and that's what everyone kind of agreed on. And he just did the sanctional things, and then it was just one of ideas he made up while he was in bed one night. Nothing to do with the fact he wants more culture in his thing.
Sure. So Matt, that's a great point.
Because he never said that.
Yeah. I
don't think.
I guess you would have to ask him, right? And he would have to say, "Hey, no, I made that decision because I wanted more culture and more racial representation." Or if he was being blatantly honest, he might come back and say, "I was actually hoping I would extend my business to more countries around the world so we can make more money." I hope it's not the latter, but I guess it's tough to pigeonhole a guy based on a tweet.
Yeah, I think he has good intentions, especially with the CrossFit health stuff. Like he really does want people to be healthier, I think. But look, that still doesn't make you a nice person, and it still doesn't make you fit to run, especially not fit to be the face of an organization which represents so many people around the world when you're just a bit unhinged. So maybe he just needs to give up control and let the board of directors run it, but have the mission and the vision of the business still be to create health. And there are plenty of people around the world who can sit on that board and create health without like this kind of off the cuff kind of guy being in charge of it. And I think that's what people want.
Yeah. I don't know where we are in our timeline of things to talk about, but I would like to read something to you guys, which I thought was very fitting. And you can maybe take us to the outro after this, Courts. But a guy named Chuck Bennington, I don't know if you guys follow him. This is what he said on Instagram yesterday. CrossFit, thanks for changing the world of fitness for all of us. Full stop. And he goes on to say, this has nothing to do with a position on the current issues that CrossFit as an organization and Greg as an owner are dealing with. Just paying some respects for changes I've seen in our industry. It seems like many of the people shouting from the rooftops for CrossFit to burn down don't have appreciation for how much the organization and methodology have changed the game of, well, all things fitness related. I know the argument will be made for the community being responsible for some and many of these, but this is not a chicken or egg debate. Without Greg and CrossFit HQ, there would be no CrossFit community. So if you're newer, less than 10 years to the fitness world, some of this might have been lost on you. Terminology. If you do a WOD with a Metcon, especially as EMOMs or AMRAPs, you owe CrossFit a big tip of the hat. Same if you know what a Tabata interval is, but you're not an exercise scientist. Equipment. If you've been able to buy a good barbell, kettlebells, bumper plates, gymnastic rings, or pull-up rig without jumping through crazy hoops, paying out your ass, or waiting an eternity, sometimes all three, you should be grateful for the foundation laid. Bonus points if you bought your first rings or kettlebell, possibly from a journal article, obviously referencing the CrossFit Journal. With regards to food, if you've ever done zone or paleo, probably wouldn't have if it wasn't for CrossFit. Did Sears and Cordain have their shit together many years earlier? Yes, they did. Did anybody care? No, they didn't. Whole 30 was born from CrossFit on the message board thread on the website. So there's that. With regards to movement, did you set out to deliberately become a weightlifter or grow up within the sport? If not, but you know what a snatch and clean and jerk are or are competent at either, especially squat variants, you probably owe CrossFit some thanks. If you do thrusters, butterfly pull-ups, muscle-ups, kipping handstand push-ups, ring dips, double unders, or about a dozen other movements, you're probably doing CrossFit, especially if said movements are combinations of lifting, gymnastics, and conditioning for time. With regards to apparel, have fitness shoes that aren't Chuck Taylor's, Vibram Five Fingers, or running CrossFit trainers, ? Have you got workout shorts that aren't board shorts or basketball shorts, ? And he's just, that's it. That was the end of the post. And he's just saying, hey guys, please add to this list. But, if it wasn't for CrossFit, none of what I listed above would be accessible and available right now. And as much as everybody wants to burn the establishment to the ground, there's actually been a lot of good that's come with that. So I thought that was a well said post.
Yeah. I mean, no one's denying that it was good stuff. Yeah. But I guess
anyone, like people have said, and like Matt said to me the other day, I don't know where you read it, but like people have said, CrossFit was great and it taught us like a lot of stuff. Like you just read in that post now, but do we need the word CrossFit in our gym to carry on doing all those things that they taught us?
Sure, Courtney, that's a very good what do you call it? Segue into another podcast, I think. That's a great.
I think it's gonna have to be
a great thought.
Another show. It's gonna have to be another show, I think, because that's another 2 hours of discussion.
Wow.
I don't know where you read that on Twitter. Someone said that, Matt.
I don't know. Yeah. It's like Harvey Weinstein. His whole thing that like he made a lot of good movies, but like that we enjoyed. But he's still touched women.
Yeah.
Yes, Matt. That's a great point. Let's be clear. I'm reading that because I think, at least I'm hoping that Roger's mom, Matt, your mom, and Courtney's mom, and my mom that are listening are looking for a well-rounded debate on the topic. And I think there's some good that CrossFit has done over the years, and we are thankful for that. But Greg Glassman, sure, that's another kettle of fish.
And there's also something that I want to... like Greg must go. That's my opinion. So there's like something else that I read somewhere before I think we're close, and we'll have to leave for another show and do this again. But like someone was saying, part 2. But like someone was saying, like you go to your gym, you know your gym owner, you know the coaches at your gym, you chat to them, you know what their values are. You don't know Greg Glassman. So the last thing you should do is quit your gym to try and get back at Greg Glassman. You know, you should be sticking with the people that you know, the people that you trust, the people whose values you believe in. If you believe that your gym is like owned by a crazy person who loves Greg Glassman and vibes with his crazy thoughts, then you should leave that gym if that doesn't agree with you. But if you think that your gym owner is a cool guy, loves everybody, loves diversity, is not a what did we call Greg? A pervert kind of
genius.
Predator, pervert, genius, pervert, predator, and then stick with your gym. Don't quit. The best thing you can do is stick with the community that you believe in. And whether your gym wants to de-affiliate or stay affiliated to CrossFit, that comes down to them, because there's a lot of other things to think about there rather than whether they just hate Greg or not. But so
we'll leave you with that.
As much as I don't like Greg Glassman, and I can say that because I don't work for CrossFit, I'm not encouraging people to just go and cancel their CrossFit gym memberships. That's the last thing that I would say.
Hey, Matt, what's the name of that? Courtney, that was very moving, by the way. Thank you for that wonderful summary. Sorry.
Did you cry?
I think that was very well surmised. And
let me just press record quickly.
Very concise and to the point. What I was going to say, Matt, this sounds like the director of that movie that we watched with, what's his name? Bald head. It's a 3-part movie. Watched it recently.
Movie with a bald head.
The director's got an interesting name. Shyamalan. What's his name?
M. Night Shyamalan.
Shyamalan?
Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah. Anyway, I can't pronounce it very well.
Glass and Unbreakable and
Split. I was just gonna say, I think Shyamalan needs to get hold of this this story and make a movie called Mr. Glassman.
There we go.
Okay, we'll leave you with that, with Justin's joke.
Starring Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper.
Yes. I love that Unbreakable movie.
Yeah, listen, those movies were intense, man. I thought they were great.
Love Bradley Cooper. Okay, so on that partial fact, that's all we've got for you. Matt's throwing his ball at the screen.
Yeah, that was
your laptop.
Such a boring episode.
There was no laughs today.
It was very serious. I mean, if anybody made it this far, I applaud you. And I'd ask you very kindly to please give us some feedback on whether you want to hear more serious discussions or actually some jokes.
More dick jokes.
Partial facts.
We want to hear more naughties.
More naughties.
Next week we're getting back to our normal schedule of just talking rubbish. No more serious stuff.
Absolutely.
More rubbish for all the viewers.
I do believe this particular podcast had a lot of informative information in it. So,
and that wasn't even researched. We didn't even research. This was all off our heads.
No, just purely based on encounters, social media encounters.
Yes, this is 100% no papers in front of us. Googled a little bit while we were talking. But yeah, so apologize if the facts are not true.
Well, that's what you come to expect.
Exactly.
So guys, on that note, you can find us on Instagram at NoRex Podcast. We haven't taken a photo, so in 3 days' time we'll argue on WhatsApp about what photo to use.
Yeah.
I took a photo of us all talking.
Did you?
There we go.
A screenshot.
It's Justin's new job, but
yes.
You have to make it different from the other 6 that we've done that look exactly the same.
Okay, so let's do this. Pull a face. Hang on. Control Shift.
Email.
Hang on.
Justin is working the MailChimp also. It's also part of his new job.
Yes, guys, I do apologize for sending you emails that have broken links and absolutely
and says
no direction. It says Matthew at the top. All right, so guys, give me a thumbs up or something on just so I can take a little. Yeah, that's great. Hang on. Lovely. Okay.
So. Great.
Fantastic.
NoRex Podcast. Send us an email, noresultsmedia@gmail.com. No one ever sends us an email. We don't even know the password to the Gmail.
Yeah.
And sign up for our mailing list. Justin will send you an email with links that don't work to get to listen to our show.
He'll send you a reminder. Have you made it every second week or once a month? Or every week?
Well, I can make it every second week. That's fine.
Are you manually doing it?
I was, but I see you set up something called bi-weekly reminder. So I just need to automate it.
I've done that. Just go look at it though.
Okay.
Just press send.
I'd love to send an email every day.
It's a template of the other one, and then you can go edit it. Do whatever you want to it. But I think this might be set up the bi-weekly.
Okay. I'll check it out. I'm still mastering the tools, so don't be too harsh on me, okay, guys?
Oh man, it takes like 1 or 2 sessions and you'll be fine. Like that's what it took me. Like it's easy after that.
Yeah, I'm just like figuring it all out, but it's pretty user friendly.
Do we have a quote for the day?
Our quote for the day is from our sponsors. Do we have sponsors for today's show?
Herd SA.
Man. I don't know, man. You tell me.
We forgot again. We need to sort out our sponsors. So we'll leave them for next time. Next time we'll hear from our sponsors, Herd SA, and their new products for hand sanitizing and cleaning your gym.
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, if you want to, listen, we've got 3 minutes left. Let me tell you this. I got a pair of Herd crash pads delivered to my garage just the other day, and I've tested them out. One for low hang snatches and the other one for basically just dropping the barbell from shoulder height to see if the noise and the impact is reduced. And I was pleasantly surprised. In both instances, they worked really, really well. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to not receiving complaints from my neighbors and lifting much heavier. So if the lockdown goes on much longer, I'll be using it just about every single day. And I encourage anybody that's worried about damaging their driveway or their kitchen tiles or the carpet in their bedroom to invest in a pair. They're quite versatile.
Can they send me and Courtney some?
Yeah, I mean, if they don't send it to you, then I'll just lend one to you and the other one to Courtney.
Oh, good. For those dumbbell snatches.
Yeah, you guys can just drop kettlebells from above your head.
Good.
Clean and jerk.
Okay, good. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks,
team.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.